Welcome to the Branded Impact Podcast. On this show, we go beyond surface level branding, honest conversations with industry leaders, behind the scenes of aligned brand building, and actionable insights to help you elevate your presence. I'm your host, Jocelyn Espejo, aka Joe. Hit subscribe and join me each week for the Branded Impact Podcast. Have you ever caught yourself saying, I'm just a coach, I'm just a service provider, or I'm just helping people with? That one word can completely change how people perceive your authority. In this episode of the Branded Impact Podcast, I'm sitting down with Lisa Lord, founder of LiLo Photography and Branding, and more lovingly, my biz bestie, to talk about why women entrepreneurs often minimize their work and how shifting the way you describe yourself can transform how your brand is perceived. Because you are more than just anything. Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to have this conversation. I know you and I can talk about all things branding, and also you have been so instrumental in my life for the past, how long have we known each other now? I can't even remember, 5 or 6 years?
6 years, I think. Well, 2021, I think, is when we met. So 5 years. Yeah.
5 years. And how our even perceptions of ourselves have shifted. So it's so fun to see our journey, but introduce yourself real quick and tell me a little bit about how you shifted into branding.
Yeah, I'm Lisa Lord. Like Joe said, I'm biz bestie. I started my business in 2011, so 15 years ago, and I started just as a mom who had a camera, and I referred to myself like that for a long time, like, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom, and I take some pictures on the side, and I did that for a long time. I lived in that for a long time. I didn't call myself a professional photographer until like 8 years into my business. So that was something that I think I like to save somebody else 8 years of having to do that, because I feel like I grew really, really slowly, and I wanted to grow slowly because I was, being a mom, and that was really important to me, and being with my kids. But once they got into school, it was like, okay, now I can really do this thing. And how do I do it when I'm just a mom,
I think that's one of the things that I hear consistently, and I know I felt it and I owned it. Mine was confidently saying, I am a mom, I am a wife, I am a sister, I am all these things, and I just do this thing on the side. And I think when you and I first met, I even said, like, I'd been doing it for, I think, 10 years at the time, and I never had confidently said I was a professional photographer. I'd been getting paid to take pictures for a long time, but I couldn't get myself to confidently own that I was a photographer. And I don't think people realize when they're making the introduction, the perception that it's giving off. Because if you're not even confident in your own ability to say something, then you're not portraying confidence in somebody else. So I think that's what was one of the things that helped you pivot out of your just into really owning that you're a professional photographer.
That's a good thing. That's a good question. I think for me, it was just finally realizing I want to do this thing. Like, I want to be full-time. I want to make good money at this. And then also just surrounding myself with other people. Like, I think about the time you and I met, our trajectories were very, very similar. And that's one of the reasons why we really got together and we're like, hey, let's continue this relationship. We met at a retreat that we went to for other photographers, and we just had a very similar story. A lot of the other people were, I'm just starting out, or I'm already established. And I felt like you and I were kind of in this middle ground where we were just like, well, we're not newbies. Like, we know what we're doing, but yet we're not really doing it yet. And so I feel like you and I kind of were in that place where it was like, all right, it's time to do this. And it was so good for us just to iron sharpens iron, like really be like, well, what are you doing? Well, how are you doing that? And I love that you and I have been able to do that in a way where it's like, there's no competition. There's none of that like weirdness. It was just like, no, I want to see Joe succeed, and I know she wants me to see me succeed.
And if you don't have a biz bestie, I highly recommend pursuing somebody that you can feel confident with, because there's nothing like being able to, we use Voxer. There's nothing like being able to send a Voxer and just make a statement, no explanation, no anything else needed, and to know that she genuinely understands and is celebrating and dancing for me, or can just feel the frustration and then come back with some nugget of like, here's what I would do, or even just an acknowledgement like, yeah, that just sucks. That's okay too. But I think ultimately what you said is knowing that we're not competitors. You and I are both in the same field. We both do very similar things. We are each other's brand photographers, which is so fun.
Yep.
And I think it allows us some flexibility. We try to get together at least once a year. And I think we almost made it. We got it at the tail end of 2024 and at the very beginning of 2026. So unfortunately, missed 2025 by a margin. But it's also so nice to know that we can get together. We talk work, we talk life, we're able to update our brand photos. And then the journey. And I think ultimately, when you and I both met, we were both still doing families.
Yep.
And I think we were just starting in branding. And I was,
I was focusing a lot on seniors.
okay,
So I thought that's the way I wanted to go. So I was kind of doing seniors and branding, but trying to figure out how do I split myself into and how do I market myself? And do I have two Instagram accounts? And just so many things that and just not wanting to pull the trigger of like niching down into the thing because I was so scared to do it for so long.
we were walking away from a revenue source. And I know
Right.
both, we both had that conversation for so long. It's like, well, I've already got this revenue stream that's coming in. And then there's also too, like I know both you and I have both had this conversation where we enjoyed it. Like I know
Yeah.
you did family mini sessions and the seniors were a focus, and then branding, and then it's like, oh, but I really enjoy serving these clients. And I know for me, like getting out of families, that's what I had been doing for so long. I tried
Yeah.
with newborns for a little while, and it was you, like every time I'd call, like, I've got a newborn session, I'm like, I'm choosing to walk into something that I don't really want to do right now,
Yep.
because I felt like that's what I had wanted to do, and that was the path I wanted to go on. But making that choice, and we had heard it so many times that, what is it, like the riches is in the niches? Like you just are
Right.
supposed to niche down. But what is going on with my camera? Why did it just like completely shift? I get to edit this later. My camera's got a mind of its own. Um, I can't figure out the new updates, but I'm going to circle back to that. When we were literally sitting down trying to figure out niching down, you and I both had resistance to this because we
A
both
lot.
had revenue streams coming in. And so then making that decision to walk away from a revenue stream. And I know we had conversations about how is that going to impact the clients that we did have? Are they going to support us? Are we going to, how do we make that decision? So, how did you feel after you finally made the decision to niche down? And how did that journey look like for you?
It was a longer process than it should have been. I chose the niche and then I tiptoed my way into it. And I wish I would have just pulled the plug. But like you said, when you're making 50, 60, $70,000 a year doing that thing, it's really hard to be like, it's hard to see beyond that and to be like, I can make more than that if I change this direction that I'm going. And so, yeah, I think it just took me a long time because I didn't want to pull the plug and I didn't know how to do it and I didn't know. And like you said, I still enjoyed doing some of those things and I was so sad to give some of those up. And you can hold, two things. It's not like you have to go all in on one thing. But I have found that since I have gone all in on one thing, it has made me a lot more money than if I'm trying to straddle two different things because then you feel like your heart is never really in anything and you're trying to do too many things, your focus is divided and all of that stuff. So I think you helped me get down into this because I think both you and I kind of decided that branding was where we were going to go. And we ended up going to a workshop together. And you were always so good about finding the workshops. And you're like, let's go to this one. It's a good excuse for us to get together. And we flew to Austin together and we did that branding workshop. And that really was like, oh, I can do this and I really like it. And now I have the images to support it because I think sometimes you want to get into a certain niche or something, but you don't have what you need in order to support that. And so once you can get the branding and the images to go with what you want to go with, that is where you can like really go hardcore into changing that. So that's why what we do is so powerful now because we help other people do that in a way that supports them and they're not trying to figure all that out on their own.
I think that's a piece I keep hearing. And I'm sure you do the same. A lot of people don't want to do the branding until they've figured out all the different pieces.
Yeah.
But I think there's also some beauty in this. And I tell people, you don't have to always have it all figured out, and just choose the path that brings you the most joy right now.
Yeah.
Like, and this is one of the things you and I have talked about numerous times. Okay, if our calendar was filled with this for the next month, how would you feel? And I know that's how I quickly let go of newborns because I was like, oh my gosh, if I had newborns on my schedule every day for the next month, I would cry. I physically cannot handle it. My body just, I'm just out. And then the branding and the families. And I had a different motivation in, at least for me personally, I had to look at what I was holding on to because of my life right now. Like families were amazing. And I love taking pictures of moms, but also trying to be available for sunset, golden hour, all the
Right.
things at night on the weekends was actually when I was being demanded the most for my kids because
Right.
that's when they were home and needing to be shuffled around to sports and all the things. So this trajectory and shift into branding aligned so much better with my life in the way that I wanted to live it and the design. Now, it doesn't mean it's easy. And you and
Right.
I both know, like trying to figure out how you market and how you do all those pieces. Now, for me with the branding, I know I found a whole different level of confidence when I finally got my first brand photos. And you're talking about something similar with the workshop, like having a portfolio and being able to get out there and start to show what you could do.
Yep.
For me, it all comes back down to the confidence of being able to say and own that you do something and then being able to show the world that you do it
Right.
because you can't be a secret and then hope that people are going to find you. And let's talk about websites for a second.
Okay.
Because
Let's do it.
I know the hours that you and I have told over websites
Yep.
and different times that we've done like services and are we going to build all of this out? So if someone is in the position of wanting to pivot, we're going to go that direction first. They've been doing something for a while and now they're looking at pivoting. What are your recommendations for what they should do first for their branding, their website, those pieces? What do you think?
Mm. This is something I learned from you, and that is start talking about it and sell it before you do it. Like, just start talking about it and seeing what people need, and then make a package. Like, just create it while you're on the call with someone and be like, "Oh yeah, you need a website? Okay, I can do that for this amount of money." Like, what amount of money would sound good to you that you would be happy to do that thing for and get some experience and then do it? And then, did I like it or did I not? Because I think sometimes we build this whole platform or we build this whole website, we build all this branding around something, and then we find this isn't really what I want or what I like, or and then you've wasted a lot of time and energy and effort and money and all the things. So I think you have to know a little bit of what you want to do. And that's when having a coach or somebody helping you do strategy can help you narrow that down. And like, is this what you want to do? Does this fit your why? All of those things. And then build from there. What
I
about
like
you?
building from the core values of it.
Yeah.
Like, what are you truly going after? And then does it line? And I have learned that the hard way. I do the messy first. I start selling the offer and I start from a heart of service. So I have my lane. I like to stay in my lane. I like to
Yeah.
stay in branding
Yeah.
and I like to be able to serve my clients. Am gonna be able to offer something that's gonna help you show up in the world more confidently, more consistently, and help deliver that message that you're reaching the right clients. But I have now gotten to the point that I don't build the website first, or I don't build the landing page, and I don't build all the things because of the number of times I did that on the front end
Yeah.
to then realize it was the wrong offer. Or I built it, thought I was going to love it, realized it didn't, or something was off. Like,
Right.
thought it's what they would want. But then as I'm talking to people, they didn't want that at all. They wanted something different. And so, yes, now after trial and error. So, if you're listening and you haven't done this yet, please learn from Lisa and I.
Yes.
Save yourself all the years and hours of heartache of building something, talk about it, sell it, then build it. And I
Right.
think, but it kind of goes against the adage, right? It's like that whole build it and they will come. Well,
Right.
yes, but now with that being said, Lisa and I also both have really good foundational websites.
Right.
We already have an established business. And if we are offering something new, it's already within the lane of what we're known for. So I think
Right.
that also gives us a little bit more freedom to do that dance now, where, because I'm not going out and offering something that I've never even touched on before.
Right.
There's expertise behind it, there's confidence behind it too. And that's a huge piece because if you're trying to sell something and you're not confident about it, you're not going to be able to sell it. But the website, I think having a core foundational piece, I tell people now if you're starting something new, you don't need to start with a 30-page website. You don't even need to start with a 7-page website. Can you
Yep.
please just start with like a landing
A
page?
landing page. Yeah.
Just give something people some authority and credibility so that they can land, know who you are. And if you aren't really sure what your offer is going to be, just let them get to know you.
Right.
And then we can build from there. So as you're sitting down with somebody, because I think you said earlier, work with a coach and a brand strategist. Man, I've really leaned into this over the past few years, and I've seen the needle move in my business so much faster because I'm learning from someone who's already been there and done that. And
Right.
then I think this is also the power of having a biz bestie because I can sit and look at someone else's business and tell you, try this, do this. I think this is what's holding you back. But when I look at my own business, I'm too close to it. So
Yeah.
then I've got you for that. You're literally looking at my business going, cool, Joe, what about this or this? Or have you thought about? And then being open and giving grace to the fact that sometimes we're both a little resistant to change.
Oh, for
And then
sure.
we have to sit on it and stew on it for a little bit. And then it's like, oh,
Right.
wait, maybe that wasn't such a bad idea. But then coming back to this is what we want to shift. So when you're talking about brand strategy, are you recommending that someone has at what point should they call in? I guess is where I'm trying to get to. Because I know that one of the things I hear often is I want to figure out all of these things before I call in. But a brand strategist, and especially what you and I do, we can help you maybe before you've gotten to the full pound of clarity. So is there somewhere that you like to see people at? Like what should they know general idea wise before they reach out?
I think you can come almost do it anytime. Like, I think anytime you're struggling with where do I want to go? What do I want to do? How do I reach the next level? I think when you haven't, I think it can be especially helpful when you're already making money in your business and you already have an establishment. I like to say going from DIY to CEO, like we've DIY'd everything and we've gotten scrappy and we've had to do all the things. But when I started like thinking like a CEO in my business of like, what would a CEO do in this situation? That's when I started to see growth, and that's where you have to start thinking more future forward. And so when you're ready to start thinking future forward, I remember at one time somebody told me you have to take the 30,000-foot view. Like you have to look at it from high above. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know how to do that. And now I look at 30,000 feet view all the time, but I didn't know what that meant and I didn't know how to do it, even though I was making good money in my business. And so I think when you're ready to start like taking yourself out of your business just a little bit and you're ready to start outsourcing a few things and you're ready to start like looking legit and making more money in your business and it's not just a side hustle hobby just for fun kind of thing and you're like, no, this is what I really want to do, that's when brand strategy can come in real handy. So I think in some ways it's later than you think, but it's also like you don't want to just come to somebody and pay them a couple $1,000s to just be like, I'm not sure what I want to do.
Yes, I agree. I think definitely for branding and brand strategy, we are not the helping you come up with an idea.
Yeah.
Like you already have to, at least in my opinion, when I want you to have an idea and really have some traction, you've already been, like Lisa said, DIYing it for a little bit.
Yep.
You've done the thing, you've got some traction, you've had clients, you have an idea of things that you've liked to do, and you also have a direction on where you want to go in. And I want to say that branding is really to help get you to that next level because a
Yep.
lot of us don't have the budget when we're first starting out to really start working with all of the things. So then, yes, the DIY place, it has a season
Yeah.
for sure. And you and I both did it. I
Yes.
designed my first website. I designed my first logo. I designed all of the things at first. And then as I got more, and sometimes it was just because I didn't have time and didn't feel like doing it. And sometimes it was really because I wanted to get expert eyes on it. Like,
Right.
okay, what is it that I'm not seeing? And I know you and I have both learned over the years, we knew it, but putting a name to it, like colors have an impact. So, what our colors are portraying off to other people, it's not
Right.
just whether or not you like the color. And it's not just copying what every other person in your industry is doing, because we saw that for a while. There
Yep.
was a season where blush like was in everybody's branding. Like I had it too. It's because I was like, well, if it's working for her and she's doing what I want to do, then
Yep.
I'm going to not reinvent the wheel. Let me make it look the same. And now my colors have shifted. I no longer have a blush in my colors. It didn't align with me and my personality and who I wanted to attract, but colors have a huge impact. A lot of that, though, comes down to what you and I were talking earlier is that you really have to kind of know what you want to do
Yeah.
and who do you want to serve. And then you and I and the brand strategy piece can come into play on how do we really help you hone down how to pull your authenticity out and make you separate from the rest of the sea of people that are doing
Right.
the thing. Because just like photographers, almost every industry has options. I haven't quite found anybody that's the only person that does what they do.
Right. Yeah. There's somebody's everybody there's nothing's new under the sun, right? Like there's somebody who's done what you're doing, what you've done. That's okay, but they're not you. So you need to figure out how to put you into your business and to make that the central part. But then, then there's also a part of it too where it's like, well, you're starting to grow your business and you're wanting to take yourself out of it. It's not as much of a personal brand, but it still needs to have those personal elements to it. I mean, just look at State Farm. They use Jake from State Farm. He's like the face of their business, right? And it's like some fictional character, but still it has that like personality as a part of it. So even if you are not the face of your business, I recommend you are, but you still can like have those personal elements that pull people in and make you look different than everybody else.
This is a struggle that I think a lot of people find, and I know I'm toying with it right now as some pivots that I'm considering making in the future, being the face of your business. So when you've got someone that comes to you and they are a personal brand and they are the everything, that's super easy,
Yeah.
right? That makes 100% sense. Why do you still recommend it even for those that have a team and have other people working behind it? Why is it important? You said it's still important regardless. What are your thoughts?
Because AI, because we need to know it's a real person. We want to know, like, and trust people. And when it's faceless content or it's just like super business forward content, it's not going to connect with people. People want connection more than anything, and that's what I mean, since COVID, we've had to be so disconnected, and we really aren't getting that piece back. And so people are just craving that connection piece, and so they will almost always go for a company where they can feel connected to that company. So you just have to figure out how to create that connection. What does that look like? And most often it's through your face. But if it's not, then you need to figure out another way to do that.
The connection piece, and it's the branding and the authenticity.
Right.
And you mentioned AI. It's all of it. People want to know. And I think it comes down to the foundation for me of business, which for whatever reason we get away from. But it's as simple as people like to do business with those that they know, like, and trust.
Yep.
So, how are you getting them to know, like, and trust you if you're not showing up?
Right.
It's very difficult. And I think a picture says 1,000 words. We can do so much stuff. And sometimes it sounds so cliche, but I'm like, you really do want to stop the scroll so that
Yep.
people will read what you have to say. We spend so much time on creating content, whether it be for the website or social media or email or blogging or podcast or whatever form of marketing that you are doing, but you have to get them to stop and want to read it.
Yeah.
We're, as a society, words don't attract, they don't get us to stop. And it's
Yep.
literally something. And so sometimes words can, but only in a graphic that has some visual something that ends up becoming a photo at that point that's getting people to stop and want to read what you have to say. And
Yeah.
then being the face behind it. I encounter this now more and more when I deal with people that are like med spas or hair salons or somebody that has multiple people on their team. And so they're concerned to become the face of their business because they're like, well, they're not always going to work with me.
Right.
Where is the difference? For me, my recommendation is always messaging. You can still be the face of your business. Just make sure that in your messaging, you're not saying it's just you. You just
Right.
relay the fact that you've got a team. You can still be the founder, the CEO, the person that came up with the concept that's creating a space for a team. And then in your messaging, you also show photos of your team members.
Right. Yeah.
Anything to
That's the
expand?
key. I always like to say you need to have pictures of three things: the people, so whoever the people are in your business, whether that's you or the other team members, the process, how you do what you do, and then the product, what's the end product that they're going to see. And if they get those three P's, like it doesn't matter if you're the only person, great, let's get pictures of you. But if it's a team, well, then by all means, meet the team. Here's, so and so on the team is great at doing facials, or whatever. And so yeah, it doesn't have to be your face all the time. And just because you're doing branding photos doesn't mean you're going to get 300 pictures of your face. Like, that's the beauty of it, is it's like the process of the product and how you're doing what you're doing, and, behind the scenes images and stock images and all of that kind of stuff to round it out so you can do it. But yeah, stopping the scroll is hard because I mean, you literally have less than 3 seconds. With TikTok has made it so that people are just scrolling as fast as they possibly can. And if you don't capture that in that 3 seconds, boom, they're on to something else, which is a lot of pressure on business owners.
And the amount of content that we have to create and the mediums that we have to be in, because social
Yep.
media is only a piece of the pie. You and I have talked about being on Google. You and I
Yep.
have talked about, we do email marketing. We network, like we're
Yep.
in person. So when it comes to branding, where are some of the areas that you think are the most important for business owners to focus on outside? I mean, obviously we love pictures. That's our jam. But when we're talking about pictures and you're thinking about brand strategy, where really should a business owner focus on?
I think messaging is key. Like you have to be able to relay your message to people, and that's what people want to hear. So it's like your visuals and your voice, like your messaging and your images really have to go hand in hand. Like those are the two big ones. If you're going to spend any money at any time, those are in my opinion, the two things that you need to spend the most time on. What do you think?
It needs to be consistent.
Yeah.
So yes, your messaging, your words have to match. But then for me, it's not just photos. And then I don't believe that anybody should just pick one avenue. So
Yeah.
I think that you have to have a consistent presence across all of it. So yes, you need to have a website. At what point are you in your business as to how many pages your website has? That would
Right.
be dependent on your business, what you offer, all the things. But I think a business should be able to focus on consistency and appearing consistent in all the different formats. And I'm also a very big proponent of in-person networking. I'm a proponent of being online. Social media can be a necessary evil. Yep, I said it. It
Yep.
is one of those things where that is what I truly believe. But I think in today's day and age, it's a visibility and credibility thing.
Yeah.
You need to have a website.
Oh,
You
for
need
sure.
you need to have a social media presence.
100%. All
You need
platforms, whether or not you're active on all of them, doesn't matter, but you need to at least have a presence there.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that you have to post 5 or 6 times a day or even 5 or
Right.
6 times a week. Depends on the industry. I just made a recommendation to a company the other day that I'm like, twice a week. You really only need to post twice a week so that if somebody lands on your Instagram or Facebook page, they see that you're still legit and you're still in business.
Yep. And you're still creating content.
Yes, and you're
Yeah.
still relatable. And there's because I know I've landed on a couple where I'm like, you haven't posted in over a year. Are you even still in business?
Right.
I don't know. It makes me question. And then you have to overcome some objections. But yes, photos, the messaging, but then consistency. And what's your client journey look like? I think that's a piece that a lot of people are missing nowadays, where we
Yeah.
really focus on the front end. How are we attracting new business? And then we're forgetting that the branding actually falls all the way through the
Yeah.
process. So then, what are some other ways that you're finding your clients are using the brand photos and then the voice, really establishing and being clear on how your messaging is a part of it? But what are some of the things that you see your clients do?
Well, from when you were talking, what you were all just talking about, I recommend that people start with one platform and you get really good at it and you get really consistent at it. And then you add another one because I think as business owners, we feel like we have to do all the things all the time and then we get burnt out and then we don't do anything and we just give it all up. And so if you can stick with one, get consistent in it, then do a new platform. But you're right in showing up consistently in all the places. So I think LinkedIn is a place, depending on your business. I think a lot of people overlook that one because they don't really think of it as social media. It is kind of social media, but it's also, if you're a business to business, that's a great place to be showing up. And then I think most businesses need to be having an email list. Your email list makes you money. It keeps you front of mind, and you can be using your images in those. Like I use my images all the time in my newsletter that I send weekly. And that takes the pressure off too of like, I don't have to have a welcome sequence and I don't have to have all these other things because I am consistently emailing my people on a weekly basis. And that's something I think a lot of business owners feel overwhelmed by. And they feel like, oh, it's not necessary. What am I supposed to say to these people? I don't want to feel like I'm selling all the time. But I'm like, well, if you're showing up and they're consistently giving them like just helpful tips or, just content in general, then it doesn't feel salesy and it keeps you front of mind. And I can't tell you how much money I've made off of my email list because then I'll email somebody and then they'll, oh, yeah, I've been meaning to schedule photos with you, or, oh, I need this, that, or the other. Oh, and my friend needs this thing. And so it just helps keep you top of mind. So that one's, I think, one that's overlooked because it does feel overwhelming and daunting. And it's something we don't like to do because it's like that's something you have to do consistently. But being a CEO and being the business owner, man, you have to be consistent in certain areas. And that's, in my opinion, one of them.
One, I think you nailed it I say it's the shoulds. There are so many shoulds
Yep.
out there, like I should be doing. And my recommendation is also, what can you do consistently?
Right.
So that's always my first question. Well, what can you do consistently? If you're telling me that you've not posted on social media consistently and you've never sent out an email, then I wouldn't highly recommend trying to go to a 5-day a week social media posting cadence and
Right.
email, because like Lisa said, you're going to burn yourself out real quick and you're going to get through
Yeah.
about a week and be like, this is for the birds. I'm
Yep.
done.
Yep.
So I think it's, what have you been doing and what can you take on consistently? And then once you get into that groove, then you can step it up if and when you're ready. But usually I also say that's about the time that you're going to bring on help in
Yeah.
some format, whether that's
Absolutely.
outsourcing a piece of it or you're bringing on a VA that's going to help you take on a load of it or whatnot. But something has to give because there's only so many hours in a
Right.
day. And unless you want to be like I've done, where you're up until all hours of the morning trying to get it all packed in, it just doesn't always work.
Yeah.
So, as we wrap up, Lisa, because I think you and I could talk for hours on end,
Yes, we
if
could.
you go back the 15 or 16 years, I forget how long you've been in business,
Hmm.
or maybe not that far back, if you could go back to the point that you decided, this is what I'm doing, I want to go all in, this is my full time thing, what is something that you would have done sooner, knowing what you know now? If you would have done it then, what could you do different?
I think I would have niched down faster. And I think I would have honed in my branding faster, which is why I do what I do now for other people. Like, we always say we're the best version. The best version is to help the person who you used to be. And so it's like, man, I used to be this person who was very wishy washy and I didn't want to make a decision. And so I wavered back and forth and I didn't, I was afraid that by stopping doing things, I wasn't going to make money. But what was really keeping me from making money was not doing one thing consistently and being the expert in that thing. And so I think when you decide what you want to do, I remember specifically writing in my journal one morning that I was like, okay, I want to go all in on branding and I want to be an expert. And so what books do I need to read? Like, what do I need to invest in? How do I need to get a coach for this? Like, what kinds of things can you do to go deep super fast? And so I think that's the thing. If you want to make more money in your business and you want to pivot to something or whatever, become an expert in it, spend the money, hire the help, get an expert, a coach, you know, a workshop, a retreat, a mastermind, whatever you need to do to become an expert in that thing, and then go for it.
And then become known for it.
Yes.
Yes. I think the branding, becoming the face of my business, if I could go back and tell myself to be confident in what I do, and I think that's the side effect of branding had, or that the side effect that branding had for myself. And then I think that's what fuels my fire to do this for other people
Yeah.
because I know the impact that being confident in what you're offering can do.
Yep.
So it's not just being clear on what is it that I'm offering and what am I doing, but then having that confidence to walk into rooms owning that. Because I walked into rooms different once I had,
Yes.
and it was as simple as like a mini brand session for me. So, as Lisa's talking about investing and doing all these pieces, we're also not saying you have to go and invest $25,000 or $50,000. Like, invest in the place that you can in that season of your business. And
Yep.
for me, I finally learned the importance and understood and was challenged by a mentor to show up in my branding. And I didn't have photos that I was okay using or confident in using. So I did a mini brand session and then I started showing up in my business. And that alone had the side effect. But it wasn't just in my marketing. Like it wasn't just on the social media post. It wasn't just finally having a picture to send out in an email that wasn't an example of a work that I had done for somebody else. But I
Right.
walked into rooms different.
Yeah.
And I finally started saying confidently, hi, I'm Jocelyn and I'm a brand photographer.
Yep.
Not, hi, I'm Jocelyn or Joe or however you want to call me today, but just, I do this just thing on the side.
Yep.
I stopped just being and I owned that I was the CEO of a business. And I think if we can, the quicker that we can help people overcome the just, I'm just a phase, I think you and
Yep.
I are both motivated by the same. We want to help you overcome the minimizations that you're doing and then not having clarity. Because if you can be clear in who you are, what you offer, and who you want to serve, then the business starts finding you. It's so much
Yep.
easier.
Yeah.
You
And
and I
you
just
can
had, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you can start this. Like when I wrote that in my journal and I was like, I'm going to become the expert. The first thing I did was go to the library and I found 5 books on branding and I checked them all out and I read them as fast as I could. But I will say the more money I invested, the faster I went. And so it's like you can start at the entry level with free library books, but the more you invest, the better and faster you're going to get there. And so you can DIY it and you can dabble, and that's fine. And there is a time and a place for that. But investing is going to help you be more confident. The more I read those books, the more I felt like an expert. And so you're right. When you walk into that room, you're like, I know what I'm talking about because I've read the books, I've done the work, I've done the research, I've put in the time and effort. And so, yeah, walking into that room confidently is huge. And just being able to like say it out loud, even if it's just writing a script that you practice over and over when you walk into a networking event, like, hi, I'm Lisa. I'm a branding expert and your face makes you money. And I want to help you do that. And so it can be as easy as that, but it's finding those words, those messaging, and just going deep in it.
Having that elevator pitch that you can just off the cuff say that describes who you are, but you also have to believe it. Because I think,
Yes. Yes, for sure. Because people can see right through it when you don't believe it.
I mean, it's honest. Well, and I think if you are in a position where you are excusing anything about your business, this
Yep.
has happened to me so many times. I'd get a business card and it's,
Mm-hmm.
oh, but
Don't look at my website. It looks awful.
yes, or don't
Right.
look at that photo, or don't,
Yep.
like if you are introducing yourself and saying, oh, but don't, or
Yep.
I'm updating my website, or I've been meaning to update my website, and you're still saying this after however many years you've been in business. I think now is your sign. It is time. And
Right.
then you're not marrying it. So commit to whatever brings you joy now, that you feel fully aligned, that you can support, that you are the expert in. And then if
Yeah.
at some point in the future you decide you want to pivot, you can. And
Yep.
then that's where I also love working with similar people or the same people over and over again, because as I grow, they're growing with me and helping me. And then I think can help keep me from getting crazy. Because,
Right.
I think what did someone describe it as? Multi-hyphenate. I was like, oh, that's a fun word. Instead of like
Oh, I like that.
serial entrepreneur that makes it sound really awful, like we're
Right.
multi-hyphenate people. And usually entrepreneurs are in this, and especially creative
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, we like to go and do all of the things. Like, this sounds so fun and it's a shiny new object and I want to go pursue this. And you can,
Right.
or you can stay in your lane where you are really good. And so thank you, Lisa. Any last thoughts for the person that's been listening? And if they want to get to know more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah. I just say go for it. Invest in yourself, invest in your business, and you won't regret it. But yeah, you can find me over on Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. I'm at LiLo Photography and Branding. I have a bunch of freebies. I have an email list. I have my own podcast that I have too. So I'm kind of like Joe. We do all the same things, and so I would love to have people be a part of my community. So thanks for having me today.
Of course. And we'll put all the links in the show notes. So if you're not really quite sure where to find her, you'll be able to find it in all the show notes, or just pop into comments, because Lisa and I support each other quite often. And my last piece of nugget for anybody that's been listening to this is honestly just discover your confidence, whether that be on camera or off, so that you can get out there and let the world know what you do and who you're meant to serve, because somebody out there is waiting for you to have the courage to do so. And so if you've been listening and been inspired, or know someone that would benefit from this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And as always, continue to go out there and make your branded impact.
Do you want to say anything about?
That's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Branded Impact Podcast. If today's episode sparked something in you, please take a second to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with a friend who's ready to unlock their rebrand era. And if you're ready for a brand that's rooted in authenticity and built for impact, one that truly reflects your story, your energy, and your evolution, let's connect. Head to brandingbyjoe.com or DM me on Instagram at brandingbyjoe. Thanks for hanging out. Now get out there, show up with purpose, and make your branded impact. I'll see you next week.